You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Welcome to episode 173 of Teach Better Talk. My name is Ray Hewart, and as always, I'm with my mercurial friend, Jeff Gargas, and I did get that word in the second take, Jeff Gargas.
That's a good word, tough word.
It's a tough word. I couldn't, it's like you're trying to keep it with the sentence and also sound it out at the same time. I don't use that in my basic vocabulary. I'm going to start using.
Yeah, so that word doesn't, where does that come from?
Oh, you don't believe I made it up? Is that what's happening right now?
Did you make up the word? It's an actual word. I don't think you made it up.
It's an actual word, and it was provided by our amazing guest, which you get to hear the episode in just a little bit. We're going to banter for a minute, but then you get to hear his amazing interview, and he came up and submitted that word for you.
Oh, I like it.
I know.
That's good stuff.
I like that he was a Team Ray fan, but I think it's really sweet that, you tried to buddy up with him. It's really cute. You guys had a budding friendship in the beginning and then it ended. Let's
be clear that he never admitted to Team Ray.
He did.
But he is Team Ohio. Like, that's a for sure. He's from the Cleveland area. He lives in Cincy. Like, you might have to give this one up.
I refuse. Anyway, how's your day going so far?
My day's good. I'm pretty pumped because today we announced 3 more speakers for the conference, and I was hoping we could just jab about them for a few minutes because we were just talking about before this, like you and I were just talking about sort of how cool it is that we get to put on a conference with all these amazing educators and how much value they bring us. Like, forget about all of you listening and everything that we did. Like that way, yeah, the conference great, but like how much value we get just from that. Let alone, and then it's so awesome that we get to share that with everyone else and push that out and stuff. So,
well, hasn't that been kind of the coolest part of not only we do a lot of things on the team, but the conference specifically. When our committee comes together and brainstorms speakers that we really want to showcase and amplify the story of, a lot of those people that we begin to bring in right off the bat are people that have massively influenced us, not only as educators, but on the Teach Better team and in 1,000 different ways of just supporting us or pouring knowledge into us and all these other elements that when we released our final 3 for this initial launch, I was so taken back. I sat in awe looking at this list because I typed all of their names out this morning and I was like, holy cow, this is literally 11 educators that have had a dramatic impact on my growth. I'm so honored that they're willing to be a part of this event. And I think that people are kind of stoked, Jeff Gargas. I think people are stoked. I
think that'd be an accurate word. Stoked.
Stoked.
I know that's where I'm at. I'm stoked.
Well, I won't lie. I've also gotten to talk to them pretty recently because a lot of them have scheduled phone calls with me for some exciting things that we'll be announcing, a few weeks from now. But these are just really good people that have impacted me a ton. I'm sure impacted you as well.
Yeah. Just you run down a list. And also just it's impacted. It's the value, but they're also just cool people. They're fun to talk to. They're super nice. And ridiculously helpful. It's all around. That's what I loved most about our conference was just the relationship you built because there's all these people that have a ton of value to provide and offer, but also just the friendship, right, in general is just.
Well, and that's what we wanted. We had a conversation about this. I'm sure you remember it, but last week we were talking about the feel of the conference. What was most important for us, and the culture. I hate to say is by far the first thing we care about for this conference. When we were talking about what we wanted when we were putting together our speaker list of who we were initially going to reach out to and all these other elements of wanting to fill the room with the right people. A lot of it came down to who's willing to not only share their awesome ideas, but also stick around and be an active part of, the networking events. That's a requirement almost. I say almost, but it truly was a requirement that all these people didn't just show up and then need to head out for a flight, but really showed up and were present with our groups. I'm so excited for the people that we have. Should we run through the 11, by the way?
Yeah, let's run through. Let's just boom, boom, boom. Let's run through them really quick.
Okay, I have this graphic I'm going to cheat off of because I just released this today and I love the design of it. All right, so we have Dr. Valerie Camille Jones, who we've talked about. That she's an amazing teacher at the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta. Dr. Neil Gupta, we couldn't even say, his resume is like, oh my goodness, the amazing impact he's had on education. Rochelle Danae Poth. We have CJ Reynolds. Dude, his book just came out. It is so stinking good. Allison Epstein's on here. I'm so excited to see her face. Mandy Freilich, we just announced today as when we're recording this. Yep. Mandy Freilich is going to be an amazing addition. We have George Valenzuela, Kevin Butler. We have Sarah Thomas, holy cow, and P. Sloan Joseph, not to mention, of course, a few members of the Teach Better team. So it's just people
you forgot Matt Miller.
Oh my God, Matt Miller.
I mean, Tech Like a Pirate just dropped. It's the hottest book in the world right now. Yes, Matt coming over, and that's not to downplay anything else. I was waiting. I was like, I'm looking on the website, which is a different layout than what you have.
Yeah.
But talk about and then you and me and shit, like we're going to be there too. That's fun. But yeah.
I'm just so thrilled. And the best part, Jeff, I do want to make sure our listeners know this. Proposals are open. So if I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't probably already know, not any secrets, but truly we have these initial speakers of people that we are saying, hey, they're going to be there. They're so excited to meet you. But when you submit a proposal, we want you to share your story as well. So we're not only looking through proposals that are going to add value to our conference, obviously, but you then become part of the family. You're a featured speaker. We want to fill our graphics with not only these amazing educators, but also the amazing educators that we didn't just list off who are listening or part of our family or doing amazing things in education. You should be a part of this as well. So you have to make sure you submit your proposal at teachbetterconference.com. It's due by the end of the month. It was originally going to close at the end of April, and now it's going to close at the end of May, which kind of gives us, a month or so to go over it. We're going to let our speakers know if they were selected by like August 1st-ish. And then the conference is in October. So that brings everyone together, family party for the weekend. I'm so excited.
And if you speak at the conference, you do not pay to attend. So you get to come and hang out with all these other people and go to all the sessions that you want for both days. Come Thursday, because we kick it off Thursday night. And then you go home Sunday, because we don't stop at the end of the sessions on Saturday. We go through Saturday night.
We're going to be so tired Saturday night. Do not leave Saturday night. I promise you.
Don't leave Saturday night.
Don't leave Saturday night.
We have plenty of people flying out super early Sunday with zero sleep, and that's okay.
Seriously, I remember.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Sunday morning, I left your house because I stayed with your amazing family that weekend. We left at like 3 a.m. and I was in the car with Becky and CJ Reynolds at like 3:30 in the morning, and we were so tired. It was so fun.
I was just happy that I didn't have to take you.
I know. See, you owe Becky and CJ. They are.
I do. I owe them for a lot of things.
Okay, but to be honest, half the conference was at the airport that morning. We were all exhausted.
I bet. I should have just went for the party.
It's true.
Yeah, so that's super exciting. So everything's at teachbetterconference.com, like Ray said. Get over there, submit a session, get signed up. Super pumped to see everyone. So it's getting excited. Let's talk about this episode. I want to get into it really quick. So Chris Anderson he describes himself as a science educator and communicator. He works with Hamilton County ESC as plays a few different roles in there. There's a lot of work with Cincinnati Public School, helping work with basically an instructional coach position for multiple districts, supporting the county level. And then he does some really cool stuff with something called Science Around Cincy down in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm going to let him talk a little bit more about that. But this is a dude that is super passionate about science, and I love what he's done with this Science Around Cincy and how it's not only spreading the joy of science and increasing the interest for kids and stuff like that, but he's also connected to a lot of other pieces of the community, and I think it's really, really cool. So I'm pumped for this episode. Ray, do you have anything to add to that, or should we just rock?
I am a fan. Let's do this.
Episode 173 with Chris Anderson.
Hey guys, we'll get right back to the episode, but really quick, I want to highlight the webinar series that the Teach Better team is offering over at teachbetter.com/webinar series. And did I mention, y'all, it's free. So you can join myself, Chad Orszowski, Mandy Freilich, Kevin Butler, and Jennifer and Hans Apple as we dive into educator mental health, remote learning essentials, the grid method, engagement, and so many other elements that can support you to be better at a distance. And you can go register right now at teachbetter.com/webinar series. All right, I've told you enough information. Let's get back to this awesome episode.
All right, we are here and we are chatting with Chris Anderson. And Chris, it's been exciting just chatting with you for a little bit. You're from Ohio, I'm from Ohio, so we got Ray outnumbered already, which is great.
Got to represent.
I love that we're both Eastern time zones, so she can't tell us that we're in the wrong time. So we're going to start this off with a bang of me taking a shot at Ray. So that's great, but super excited to kind of learn about what you're doing and your experience and your story. But before we get too far into that, how are you feeling right now?
Cold. It's cold today here in Ohio.
It is.
And I'm guessing in Illinois too. But, it's we're very fortunate. We're both able to work from home, my wife and I. So we're just, we're very grateful that we are able to do that. And we've got our health and all our family members are healthy too. So I think right now we're just considering ourselves very lucky. So that's probably that's probably the biggest feeling I have right now.
See, that's so good. See, Chris, I'm very secure in my standing on this podcast, even with Jeff picking on me, because I can just tell you're a great person and just super well-rounded. I think that you're going to be Team Ray by the end of this. I'm not really too worried about it at all.
Well-rounded, much like the state of Ohio.
Exactly. See, and I know that you have that in common with Jeff, but I don't think that's enough to actually keep you Team Jeff this entire podcast, because I get you, buddy. I understand you.
Yeah, I feel like the prettiest girl at the dance now, so
exactly.
This is great.
You are. Before we get too far in to our episode where we're going to just shower you with celebration and talk about how amazing you are, because you are, which is why you're Team Ray. Would you tell us a little bit about what you do in education?
So I guess I'll start with my day job. So by day, I work for the Hamilton County ESC as an instructional coach. And almost all of my time with them is spent working with teachers in Cincinnati Public Schools. So I've done curriculum coaching. This year I was doing more data coaching in elementary school. It was the first time I was in an elementary school, and that was really exciting because most of my experience has been in high school. So, by day, I'm really just working with teachers and helping them, improve what they do in the classroom with the kids. And then at night, I, come home and I change out of my suit and tie and I put on my superhero outfit, and then I produce and host a video series called Science Around Cincy. And what we do with that is we feature different scientists and engineers and researchers around town, and we share their story, and they take us to their labs, they take us out to the field, and they show us how they learn more about the world. And it's been a whole lot of fun. So we finished our first season a few months ago. We're getting ready for a second season this upcoming summer and fall. And it's really just a great project to get kids, not just teaching them science, but getting them excited about science and getting them excited about scientific careers and exposing them to all these different pathways you can go on to be a scientist.
All right, so now I got to ask and have you kind of tell us the backstory of Science Around Cincy. So how did that all begin? Is that something you started, or is that something that was already there, or?
No, that was me. I mean, it was me and a lot of other people helping me for, not being compensated for their time.
Let's go down memory lane. Tell us, when did that start? And I'm curious to know what led you to that and said, hey, I need to start this thing and I need to work with these people and this is what we need to do. Like, where did that all come from?
That's a good question. So a while ago, I was doing some writing. I had like a science blog, and then it's so hard to cut through the noise, as you guys well know, as content creators yourselves. So I started doing some writing for some local papers and some online publications. And someone gave me a really good piece of advice that I should focus on stories that are here in Cincinnati, as opposed to trying to, take these national stories and, put a square peg in a round hole and try to make them relevant to people's lives here, which is what I was kind of trying to do. And so I thought, like, it could be cool to do like a video series on different scientists here. So I ended up crossing paths with a guy named John Gibson, who is a professor of electronic media and broadcasting at Northern Kentucky University, which is 10 minutes across the Ohio River. And we got to talking, and he's a big Star Wars nerd, and I'm a big Star Wars guy, and we became very quick friends. But he also has a lot of he's directed feature films. He's had a lot of experience in production, so he was just a really great thought partner in bouncing ideas, someone to bounce ideas off to really make what I had in my head a reality. So, but the key there was Northern Kentucky University has a student production wing called Norse Media. And so when I was able to get a little bit of funding, we were able to work with the students at NKU to produce it. So it's directed by students, it's edited by students, they're involved in the production. They do the sound engineering, animations, all that stuff. So I do a lot of the pre-production work, but they take what we put together and they make it look really, really great. So, I'm really lucky that I've got a great team of, college students and people who are willing to, advocate for me and, go out on a limb and, give us a little bit of funding. And so that's kind of how it all came together. Now that we're gearing up towards the second season where we've, been able to expand our team, we were able to expand more, feature more scientists and things like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's really cool because not only are you sharing value and spreading the love of science and the education of science, but you're also providing invaluable experience for these kids that are working on it at the college level, and you're highlighting your community. It's such a cool combination of things that you're doing there. That's really, really neat. So let's talk. We're going to stay on story time. So one of the things that I love is sharing stories of failures and challenges that we've had in our lives. I always joke that I've been fortunate enough to fail a whole lot because I've learned from everything, and that's who I am today and why I am who I am, for better or worse. So I wonder if you could share with us the time that you've had a failure or a challenge, something you had to overcome in your life. Tell us what it was, how did you overcome it, and then what did you take away from that experience?
So the last year I spent in the classroom was really tough. It was hard on me. I had really spread myself thin. I was coaching track and cross country and doing like academic quiz team. And then, as you guys will know, teachers get drafted into being on these different building initiatives. And, I had some outside commitments with some STEM stuff that I had just really spread myself way, way too thin. And, there were quite a few issues in the classroom, and I had, a challenging group of kids that year. And I think the biggest break was when a student that I had developed a really strong relationship with. We butted heads a lot, but we worked together. I moved him into the honors class. He lost a battle with depression, and I probably couldn't tell you at the time, but like it definitely took a toll on me. And in ways I didn't even realize. So, you ever have those years where, you're feeling like you're holding your classroom together with your bare hands. And as hard as that was, I learned a really good lesson. And that was sometimes you just need to say no, and that you can't be all things to all people. So, you got to be choosy with what you choose to participate in, what you choose to work on, and it needs to be aligned with what you want to accomplish. And that's not to say that you shouldn't try new things and experiment and explore. Like that's a big part of my life, and it's been a really big part of the person whom I've become. But you sometimes you gotta really do some pruning, because if not, the things get out of control. And that was a really good lesson to learn.
Chris, it's so funny. I was just talking about this same concept literally earlier today. I feel like a meeting every single hour. My day was packed. And one of the amazing meetings I had was with a friend, and we just got to catch up and talk shop and get a little bit of business done. but we really talked about this idea of, just like you said, I like how you phrased it, being choosy about what you choose to be involved in, right? Like, I kind of like that phrasing, because you're right. And I think that, I know I've been there. I know there's so many educators listening who have been there, where you kind of get to a point in your career where you're saying yes to everything. And then something hits you, usually something very challenging, and you start to see the art of being choosy. And I think that it's kind of a message that listeners need to hear right now, especially during the stress of what's going on in the world and everything else going on, is that we really do need to be specific with our time. And sometimes that is stepping away, and not, like you said before, also like not being able to be everything for everyone. Right. And I really like that you're able to share that message, because it's so accurate and so important to remember.
Yeah, that is a lesson my mom definitely shared with me. That's a Mary Anderson original. She's like, you can't be all things to all people. Yeah. And I'm sure you guys get this, you get pieces of advice, especially from your parents, and especially when you're younger, because, your parents, when you're younger, you think your parents, don't know anything. And part of being such an important part of being young is testing those waters and, going out and trying new things. But yeah, I think you're 100% right. You can't do all things at an excellent level. So you got to choose which ones are really, really meaningful to you. So, and you're right. With everything that's going on now, like, something's going to drop. So you got to choose what that's going to be.
Well, and I find that, I know that I have another question I want to ask you, but on this topic specifically, because it was truly something I was speaking about earlier today as well, you kind of almost have to go through the phase of saying yes to a lot of things, so that you can learn what you should be saying no to. Yes. I mean, it kind of like opens up the doors. You become more self-aware, and you become more, I guess self-aware is really what I mean, is truly what can you say yes to that you really love, and what can you put away to the side that actually isn't, serving you in the same way. So while it's a double-edged sword of, hopefully reminding our listeners that you don't need to say yes to everything, and you should find that balance of saying no, sometimes it takes you saying yes to the wrong things to learn that you should have said no,
Now, are you guys both the type of people who will really get excited about a really cool education initiative, and you're like, oh man, I just love that, I want to be involved and do all that? Because that's something I feel too, is like, I see something that's really cool and really valuable, and my reaction, my gut, instinct is to say, I'm going to dive in, head first.
1,000%, yeah.
I never get excited about anything.
No, Jeff and I call it shiny objects. Like, we joke about it. We're like, hold on, is this a thing that we really believe in that aligns with what we're doing, or is this just a shiny object, right? And being able to kind of have a process to evaluate, if it's a shiny object, is it something I'm going to go after, or is it something I'm going to pause on? It is really important. I think everybody needs to have their own system for those shiny object situations.
Oh, for sure.
Our system, unfortunately, is one of us brings it to the other one, and then we get excited too, and we just go for it. Yeah, like, we should really say no. Yeah, we're saying yes. Let's say yes.
Jeff,
that's kind of how the podcast started. Yeah, pretty much, right? I mean, same with the conference, right? I mean,
oh my God, we have a list. But either way, so Chris, I have to know. I mean, you've done so many different things. I can only imagine the shiny objects you've interacted with, and a lot of them have turned out as massive successes. But in terms of education, everything you're doing, what really has you excited right now about education?
We're definitely living in a very unique period, and I think we, all want to live in a less interesting time, but we're in the time that we're in. But I think it is giving us, as educators at every different level, an opportunity to really rethink how we teach. Because right now we can't rely on the things we've always done, and I think it's just a really good opportunity to be creative. The worksheet we've been assigning for the last 5 or 10 or whatever many years, like, it was boring before, but it's even more boring now that we have to do it on a computer, and it's even the hurdles are even higher. So, but we have a high reward, low risk situation. Let's try something. See, we don't have the exams at the end of the year or the state tests or all the stuff we've griped about. None of that's hanging over our heads. And and I think we talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. Like, I don't want to belittle any challenges that people are facing right now, because a lot of folks are going to have real financial hardships and health scares. And I think it's exposed a whole lot of issues teachers have been talking about for years, even decades. Kids don't have access to basic needs. But if we can do something, let's do something. Let's try something creative. We might not be in control of the whole situation, but we're definitely in control of our own instruction and the amount of creativity we can do. I mean, I just thought, like, an idea. I was talking to somebody a few days ago. You could assign each kid a sketch to do at home, and to represent like a different historical character. And every kid does a different historical character in their home, and they upload it to your classroom TikTok or whatever. And you could host your own classroom Saturday Night Live. Like, that would be so much fun. You could get kids, who aren't comfortable performing in front of their peers. Like, they would just be on a video, and it could just circulate within your class. No one else out of your class would have to know. So just like stuff like that. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't, like, who cares? Like, it's not that big a deal. Like there's not going to be a penalty for you if it doesn't work out in a really great way. So I think that it is an exciting time, because we can, like, all the rules are gone. So let's see what happens.
I think absolutely that is a silver lining to what we're working with right now. So if you had one piece of advice, listeners who are taking this all in, loving not only your shared elements of your story of your life, but also, I mean, your kind of like call to action to try something new. What is a piece of advice that you feel like an educator needs and during these current times?
That's a good question. If you're a new teacher, I would tell this to like brand new teachers, which is without a hint of irony, that you're going to get a lot of advice from people, and you really just got to find out what works for you. You can't copy what anybody else does in the classroom, because all of it's not going to work for you. So, and really the other big thing I would say for teachers is to take care of yourselves, exercise, eat healthy. And probably the most important thing is get enough sleep. Like, I read Why We Sleep last year, and it completely changed my life. And you feel like once you start getting 8 hours of really good sleep every night, you feel like your brain got 17 times bigger. It's you just feel like you can do so much more, and you can negotiate all the stresses of life and teaching when you're doing all three of those things, and you're really taking care of care of yourself. So I think that's something I really try to stress with teachers.
Good advice. Finding yourself, I mean, so important to find your own voice, not try to copy after something else. And then, and to do that to the best of your capabilities, you got to take care of yourself.
You got to take,
is a huge point. So great advice there. All right, let's have a little bit of fun with these next six. The next six questions, we're going to do your goals, answer each one in 15 seconds or less.
Okay.
Ready to go?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
What is one EdTech tool you cannot live without?
Well, obviously my YouTube channel, because that's how I get content out, and that's how we produce our show. So I couldn't live without YouTube now, and that'd be really hard.
Give us a book you're reading right now.
Okay, so I'm reading An Indigenous People's History of the United States, and it's very good. It's a different way to think about the history of our country through the eyes of the indigenous people. And then if I don't, because it can be pretty heavy stuff. So if it's the kind of day where I just need to like check out, I'm reading The Golden Compass, which is delightful children's fiction, but it's really good.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
Well, obviously, you need to follow Science Around Cincy to stay updated on all the cool stuff that we're going to do. So we actually just hired a student social media manager who is, she's 21 and far more proficient than me at social media as a 33-year-old. So that's really great. The other thing I'll say is you should follow zoos. Always follow zoos. The Cincinnati Zoo and the Oregon Zoo are two that I like to follow because they've just been producing really great content with the animals. And the Cincinnati Zoo, they had a cheetah and it has a dog companion, and they are very good friends, and they go for walks together. And that just brightens my day when I've been reading too much news.
I like it. That's a good one. We've been watching a lot of the zoo cams.
Yeah. Also, we rate dogs, but everyone already knows that.
What's a good YouTube channel or website for educators?
I'm going to say it's Lit from PBS Digital Studios. They go through different works of literature from the classics to graphic novels, all sorts of cool stuff. And they like to focus on minority authors, and it's just a really cool channel, and it's really well produced, and the hosts are really great. So yeah, definitely check that one out.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
So outside of taking care of yourself and exercising and sleeping, crossword puzzles, especially in the morning, when it's best paired with a cup of coffee and an everything bagel sandwich, if you're able to make that sort of thing happen. But yeah, keeps your mind sharp, gets the creative juices flowing to start the day.
And finally, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't be an idiot, Michael Scott.
It's a good one.
So whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would do that, I do not do that thing.
Oh my God, how simple. There you go.
Yeah. All kidding aside, the one thing I would say to teachers and really to anybody like that is just do something you're good at, because it's going to bring you joy. Like that's such I don't even know who said it, but I came across it one day and I just wrote it down, and it's just a good thing to remember to do.
Love it. Well, Chris, I want to make sure that our listeners can stay connected to you and all the work that you're doing. And would you mind kind of sharing where is the best spots to stay connected?
Yeah, sure can. So me personally, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at The Science Jedi, all one thing. And then obviously follow our shows at Sci Around Cincy with the Y at the end. And we put all our videos on our website at sciaroundcincy.com. And what's cool, if you get to the website, there's a ton of free resources that go with each of the episodes, so you can connect what your kids watch in the show to what they need to learn for school. So there's discussion guides, there's activities, a lot of which you can do at home. So it's actually a really good remote learning resource. And look us up on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with your friends and your family and any other random person you run into.
And you can find all the links to resources and everything we've talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the really important links for connecting with Chris and seeing what they got going on, checking out all the resources and the YouTube channel, and subscribing over there. So make sure you head over to the show notes at teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and a review, we'd really appreciate that as well. And let's take this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators, and share this podcast with them. Chris, this was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us and allowing us to get to know you and your story and just having a little bit of fun, man. Thank you.
This was great, guys. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.